What's happening? And welcome back to All You Can Eat Warriors. And I mean, All You Can Eat Warriors. And great to be back, people. I had a night off last night myself. Feel a little bit under the weather. Whether that was from the boys, I'm not too sure, but had a break either way. Bit of downtime. But my man Ash, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, bro. Recovery, huh? We're in recovery, aren't we? That's what we're in. Like watching that game live, bro. You have to be in recovery after that one. But yeah, we're gonna deep dive into a whole lot of things. I'm guessing coming into this one, bro. And there's a lot of questions, and hopefully a lot of answers will be brought to you guys, your guys' attention in this show. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, we'll work our way through, guys. Big up everyone in the chat. Massive Tight Jazz, Strictly Waz, Let's Eat Fire and Machu. Daniel Berry, good morning, wherever you are from, sir. We haven't confirmed, Daniel. Where are you from, man?
Please,
He just,
Daniel.
I'm sure he must just dip in, type his thing, and bounce back And
We appreciate him anyway.
Chance, Jose, my man. Jazz, as always, brother. And Richard. Nah, it's great to have you guys. And as you guys come in, please give us a like and subscribe to Wires Up TV. Now, guys, also, if you have any questions, please type in the letter Q before you, and then we'll get some time throughout the show to answer those questions. If we answer them as we go along, I'll obviously delete them, but I'll star them anyway, and we'll have a check. But yeah, chuck those in, guys. Look, guys, we're gonna get straight into it. Big news out of Warriors camp. Sean Johnson is injured. I'll just pull this one up here, just from the website, if that's okay. Saying one New Zealand Warriors halfback Sean Johnson has been silent for 4 weeks with a recurring Achilles tendon injury. Head coach Andrew Webster made the announcement at media session today. Blah, blah, blah. Sean is going to be out for at least 4 weeks. It's all around the Achilles. Sean rehabbed it and felt amazing, but he hasn't come back the way he wanted. You could see he couldn't do what he needed to do, so he'll be out for 4 weeks at least. We were going to make sure that when we get good signs that he can train with the team and he's doing well, then we'll bring him back, but he's just not physically there at the moment. Okay. Ash, mate, what are your thoughts on that one?
Oh, there's a lot of everything. There's a lot to really think about in that one, bro. Obviously, the noticeable thing on the weekend was that later on in the game, it looked like he was getting hampered by, for me, first of all, I thought he was reaching at his hamstring. So I thought it was a hamstring injury. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that doesn't look good, the way everything's going. Now coming out, apparently Achilles. I don't know. I think there's a little bit more at play. I just have a feeling there's a little bit more at play. I think maybe Shawnee's really feeling the season now. A lot of things is like, I hope this isn't the last time we see Shawnee. But I really do think with the way everything's going, there's no extension being given yet. Like, he hasn't signed the extension. He has said that usually him and Webby work this out together. So Webby's obviously been talking to him, how he's feeling, how his body's holding up. I think injuries have really hampered him this season and have really held him back from his potential. And I think we've all noticed that now. He hasn't been able to train with the squad properly and all that, but it is hampering a little bit of our performances as well. I wouldn't say, I would say he was not the reason for our loss on the weekend, but he's not healthy. And unfortunately, I think it might be closer to the end with SJ than what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's really sad to see, especially me. I'm such a big SJ fan, but what's your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, a little bit of everything happening. Probably, yeah, injury. I mean, the fact that it's been such a long-term injury, they talked about it even preseason or whenever it was that he got it, and it's been hampering it for so long. I understand that, but I'm going to be a little bit of devil's advocate and say here, do you think that this might be in terms of maybe saying that you're dropping him? Because I'm only saying that because they thought he was okay to play, and then he's played 2 games and they didn't have any issues then. What is the actual? Is it purely the physical Achilles, or is this kind of saying, that there might be other things at play? What is your ultimate thought there, Ash?
Yeah, I honestly think it could be a multitude of all those things. And I think that the Achilles injury is obviously there. I would say that. but to the extent and what's like around the timing and all that, it does seem like that maybe he's been given the tap on the shoulder. Again, like he hasn't been healthy for pretty much at all this season. Like we noted pretty early on in the season that Luke Metcalf was taking the kicking duties off him, the goal kicking, and we're like, ooh, okay, right, maybe we're just trying to hold him through. Comes out, he's got, I think he had a groin strain pretty early on the season. Then he had the Achilles injury that hampered him, the pec injury, and come back from the pec. So he has been injury riddled this season. But you're right, like it feels like it's also something else. It feels like he's been given a tap on the shoulder and said, listen, mate, like, you know, I think it's a bit of both things at play. I think you can stretch the injury truth, if you want to call it that way, as far as you really want to, because I do think he's hampered with some sort of injury, but I think that it's probably best that we do give him a little bit of a rest. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, if it is that, I mean, again, I just go back to the question was, the issue was they were playing him right, throughout, knowing that they had Tamaiti and CHT available to play him, and he was
Yep.
playing through pain. We understand the performances, although not completely on him. We respect that, but if he wasn't fully fit, you had Tamaiti there, and it's almost kind of weird because Webster explained it as though it was a revelation to him that Tamaiti could do what he did in those 3 to 4 games, which was which, if we looking back on it now, is kind of concerning that he either didn't know that or that he pushed Sean to that limit, not knowing that Tamaiti could help and assist the team. So I kind of, and for me, it's a little bit of everything. Sean pushing himself, wanting to be the competitor that he is,
100%.
wanting to back the team. You know, he's an emotional guy. He loves the team. But at the same time, Webby maybe pushing that too much, relying on Sean, and aggravating that injury when he had a Tamaiti there, although we all didn't really know what he could do. And in the same time, kind of reintegrating him. And now you're saying, you know, he had 4 or 5 weeks off. You're telling me that was a pec injury, but the Achilles is back. That sounds to me as though like he should have been rested that whole time, or a substantial amount of time to feel fully confident. Now, you can argue about the whole halves, you know, 2 sevens playing. I understand that. Even look back on the offense, it was a lot of what did you say? What was your quote? Ashley, you explained it really well.
It was a lot of everything, but then it ends up a lot of nothing. It was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, heaps of everything, but a lot of nothing in the end. It was all flash and finesse. It had no actual real intent behind the attack.
What were you saying? The and one.
It was like
brought this analogy
one.
up before, right? Yeah.
Like
the street ballers.
I've seen these guys do street ball. If you guys watch them, these American guys, there's one guy's a little skinny one, and he just dribbles through the legs 1,000, you know, at the 3-point line, and the defenders are just there like, okay, when are you going to actually drive to the rim and try and score? You know, it's like it's pointless. And I felt like
It's the reason why. It's the reason why street ballers can't make it in the NBA, brother, is because you can do all those dribble moves and all that, but it's just to no effect. There's no avail. Like,
no avail.
That's exactly it.
But yeah, so you take into that account, but still, despite that, his injuries and that have hampered him. And you know, I think that the main concern for me isn't SJ offensively. It is different. It's defensively. If you look at throughout the year, everyone's been getting a quick play of the ball off of him. Hit him on tackle 2, tackle 3, and they can jumpstart your sets. And that's a bit of a concern for me. That side of the ball. Whereas we know last year how tight he was in those positions. And if you're adding in the kicking element, which is such a big part of his game and what he brings to us, if you can't fully kick off that leg or extend, and then he's not getting that chase. Remember how last year he was chasing through and doing those little extras? He's still doing them, but maybe not to the full extent. I think that just ultimately comes back to that physical barrier that he's having right now, and whatever rest he needs, give it to him without any, like, go as far as bend far. I wouldn't even push, like, get all the cup guys, go as far back as you need to make sure he's fully 100% healthy before he comes back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think it's best for him, but it's also best for the club in general. And like I think more so, like when I say the best for him, it's not only physically but mentally. I feel like his whole, as I touched on with it before, like, you know, when I saw that SJ was out this week, and you know, I've always been a proponent. He's definitely not the issues at the club. If you watch the way we play, everything like that, like, well, the way we got beat on the weekend was defensively, and I've been pointing this out. Like, we had a good start to the season where defense was our big key, and a lot of people just were like, "No, we want the attack. We want everything to come. We want it all to come," and it just didn't. And when it finally started to click over, we got some stats for it a little bit later on. We started to find that our defense just went well out of the door. And I think there's a lot of other reasons to that as well. But what I mean by mentally is more of the fact of, from all the comments I'm seeing on the comment sections for, like, you know, SJ rumored out, all I'm just seeing is good riddance. Like, you were the problem. You're the issue. Like, I feel like the more and more that these performances would have came and maybe the boys weren't holding together, his injuries started to become more of an effect. I think there was going to be more and more negativity around the club, negativity around him, which I feel like is so unfair. Like, I feel like people forget what he's done in that jersey, what he's been to us. He's our highest point scorer. He's, to me, like, you know, if you compare stats wise, if you can compare even some moments, like, for me personally, I think he's one of the greatest Warriors, if not the greatest Warrior to ever have that jersey. And I think there's got to be a respectful way for everyone to come out and say, like, listen, Shawnee, like, we love ya, but, like, you know, maybe you pushing for your injury is not the best for you, the club, and everything going ahead. Maybe we should look into the future instead of going, good riddance, we don't need you anymore. We're not that club. And I know everyone in the comment section is not really like that. Like, we're not that club. You know what I mean? No. But it's just so frustrating to see a lot of fans say that he's the scapegoat, like he's the problem, when he is not the problem. I think there's so many things more at issue, but it does feel like what we're saying here now is, like, it's best for SJ to get fully healthy before he comes back so he can prove himself to full potential. That's our biggest thing.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, just want to quickly just bring up a point here. Tony Dubs saying, hey, want to give you some money, but no option again. Hey, guys, yeah, apologies. We have had some issues from the Google AdSense, the thing that pays out the channel. I've had a few issues with them. Please hold that money, build it up, like I say. No, but just in general, I know we aren't able to get those super chats running, but it won't be too long now. There's like kind of this weird stand down period. And I'm just sort of sorting it out, but appreciate the love. I know that Tony and all the others, you still want to support us. We appreciate it. We'll be okay. But we'll get to that. And just quickly, everyone I've added some people on Instagram, and they've also got some questions. My apologies. Yeah, it's a few things going on for me. I've got a ton of questions here on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, please shoot over here to Wise Up TV and bring your questions there. But I will try and pop in and check in on the guys on Instagram. But just quick, actually, from Instagram, Jeff Brandon saying SJ contract issues following injuries and form leading to maybe having an impact on the rest of the team. Just a quick one on that, Ash. You reckon yes or no? The contract situation?
I would say that maybe that could be one issue. Again, there's like, you know, we don't know the all inner details of what's going on there, but possibly. But I think there's another bigger issue that I kind of more lean to a lot of things. But yeah, in my opinion, I think with SJ, it's more injury wise. And the club's just not holding in together. I think there's more issues than just SJ and his contract and just that. I think there's a lot more going on. Yeah,
sorry. Yeah. I think so too, bro. Yeah, bro wants to go with the super chats. My live is still yes, appreciate it. Strictly was. We'll get there, bro. We'll sort the money out,
bro.
Build it up. Put in your savings account. But yeah, everyone on Instagram, please come over to Wise Up TV and bring your questions there. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've got too many things going on, but please help us and pump up those likes. Thank you, Tay. Yeah, thanks, my bro Ash. Actually, right now, I'm going to go into a little bit of a spiel.
Let's go into it, brother.
Amazing video from my friend Ash, who's done a great breakdown of the game, of everything surrounding things. I'm just going to give my quick point and share some of my thoughts around the context of what's happening right now in the season. Now, just bear with me, and I've given Ash some opportunity to chime in when he feels so needed. Okay. Because I thought what you said it made me think a lot about what you said in your video. It made me think about what is really happening here. I just want to give some context, and this is probably the first time I've actually written down stuff. I've written notes, people. That's how hard out I've gone. I've actually written bullet points and notes, and maybe this might be a good way to contextualize things. But I want to piece together probably the 2024 feeling that we all had coming out of 2023, that we felt as though this was going to be the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for anyone else, but for me personally, this was the last time that I was going to. This was like the last run for SJ, Tohu, the AFB situation.
Yep.
To make a run, and I think everyone felt that way going into it, right? We had CHT, RTS, and Capewell. Those were our three main recruits. And so I think that was the vibe going in, that we're going to get these guys, and even the talk was, we got this, I've got a really good squad, and that this was going to be it. And the goal for me was to go one step further, or at least maintain and get a top 4 spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did a little video saying that I think we would still do it, even though what James Graham said, that we would fall off. It's kind of going in the favor of James Graham at the moment. But I said, because those guys had massive years, Dallin 27 tries, SJ Delium, nearly of the year, AFB, best in the business, that those guys were going to maintain. The coach would maintain the standards. The new recruits would give a little bit of an uptick. All of those things. RTS. Now, remember, guys, the big talking point was we needed to upgrade the center position. We needed X Factor. I think people forget that X Factor was what people were crying out for. And we thought RTS could be that, whether that was at center or whatever. It felt like we needed, like, people were so upset with Pompey, and, they wanted something different, right? So there was that, we needed an X Factor from the center position to be able to take us to the next step.
Yeah.
And RTS was going to be that. CHT, remember this one? CHT was expecting him to play Cup the whole year.
I did too.
We all thought he was going to go play Cup.
Yeah.
AFB would leave, but for me, I thought he'd maintain a professional standard, and I felt as though he was doing it at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And I thought initially those guys Dallin wouldn't get 27 tries. I thought he'd probably dip. SJ would dip a little bit, but not to the extent that we've seen so far. Tohu would have a reduced role. I thought that was going to be kind of like a he felt old last year, towards the back end and things like that.
Yeah.
Then at the start of the season, we saw Capewell be he was going to be an 80-minute back row starter, and that's how he was kind of presented to us as. And then Marata was going to be pushed to an impact forward. And I thought ultimately Webby, all he had to do was maintain the standards and keep everything kind of just going, adapt things as he went. And then I thought there's going to be an integration or some type of transition for the Cup guys to come through, right?
Yep.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts of what happened this year. Injuries have been huge, but the main one has been Metcalf. He's the only one hasn't come back. Would that be right in saying that?
Yep.
Yeah. So whatever the plans were for Metcalf and Sean initially at the start of the year, we'll never know. We won't get to see that in fruition.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we won't get to see that. Now there's a dip in form, whether that's through injuries. So SJ, or who has diminished. I think we can agree with that.
Yep.
AFB has mentally fallen off.
He's clocked off.
He's clocked off from what we understand. The likes of Walker have been injured, all that stuff.
Yep.
Signings for me haven't proven their value in some ways. Capewell was dropped from a starting back row position to a bench spot. RTS moved around, no settled position or performances for him, and we're still seeing that to this day.
I want this to be a bold point, because a lot of people have said that Webby has done exactly the same thing from the start of this year all the way through. So make this a point here.
Yep. Yep. CHT showing value to me. Probably been the most impactful signing.
Yep.
But again, changes his role every week. He hasn't had any kind of stability, whether he's a half and he's been good to be able to do that. But for him, it's been thing. Let's get into the attacking style. Predictable attacking style. We can agree with that initially. A little bit of adaptation, but not much. And maybe too late. Do you agree with that, or do you think? Yeah. What's your thoughts on that that comment?
I think for me, bro, I think that our attack has always lent the way of to be predictable in a way of it's systemized, and every team has a system. They run by a system. I've always lent into the fact of Webby's full area where he wants to focus in on the squad is a defensive football side. It's to play field position and to win games like that. A lot of teams that do that have a very predictable attack, a la the Penrith Panthers. So that's my biggest point on that. So I feel like there's been a lot of adaptation in this area later on, but we'll get to that.
And that's a good point. Maybe too much tweaking could be, what I mean? It could be, and not focusing on the other, but I appreciate that.
Yep.
Inconsistent performances, good in periods, but bad in periods. I think we saw that highlighted this year, like a lot. Defensive resilience, not able to withstand pressure for long periods, if at all.
Yep.
Now some youth have come through due to like significant injuries. Laban, Roach, Leatoa, MGT, but the injuries have hampered them. So the Roach and Leatoa in particular, Roach actually technically beat out Lussick in one of those games, but got injured within 7 minutes. And then Leatoa injured within the first half of that Panthers game. Could have had another shot. MGT got his shot, did well, but taken back out. We'll be moving players around throughout the whole season to fix a problem, but then that problem reappears in other ways. I was thinking it was like the whack-a-moles in the circus. You whack one down and then another one pops up somewhere. So, for example, Ford, he's been moved around like to 3 different positions to try and solve a problem, and then eventually that problem pops up elsewhere. And then for me, I'm not sure on the stats, but the back 5 this year hasn't been as dominant. That's more of a comment on the performances.
Yep.
Jazz, Bunty, and Alia, those guys, the fringe guys, have been good, but haven't been the difference makers needed to flip a game. For example, they're not the Nasers, or those are the elite levels. The Spencer Lenyus. They've been great. They've been great at what they do, but that's not the difference to winning, flipping a game on its head. Yeah. So that's just my overall thought. But now, to summarize, kind of what I'm feeling. I think the whole roster hasn't been able to cope with the changes. Well, not the injuries, the changes, the moving parts, in this current competition. All those things I talked about. I feel as though I'm not sure what you'd say, but the quicker teams, the speedier teams have destroyed us this year. So speed has killed us.
Yeah, 100%.
Tanukini, Fa'alongo, go through most of the games where we've lost. It's the outside backs and all those areas.
I would say that was a problem that even started last year. If you watch that final series, Nathan Cleary burning Pompey on the outside, a lot of these issues had been happening already.
Yes. Yep. Good point. Now, some of the positions on the field for me are questionable, where you don't quite have the player that you want, and you're willing to change it for another player, but he doesn't quite have so he might have the skills that the other player doesn't have, but that player has the skills that player doesn't have. You know what I mean? There's no clear elite player in that position, i.e. centers, other parts of the field. Now, mixing and matching players due to their flexibility has sacrificed specialists in positions. So, Jacko Ford's been great to be flexible, but at the same time, we've missed just a powerful, damaging front row, or I don't know, a damaging back row, and that's where Barnett's had to go out and fill that role. Marata, we understand. So, because our guys have been flexible, but at the same time, it's limited our ability to be specialists, to specialize. Ola Kawatu, for example, pure back row edge, damaging, those types of things. And Webby's moved those guys around. And then the model of play, coaches with experience have been able to deal with it. So Hasler's beat us twice. Bellamy's beat us twice. Flanagan got us good. Fitzgibbon kind of fixed things up and got us. Robinson, we know he's an elite coach. Seabold, technically a draw, but he figured stuff out to beat us. And AOB got us once as well. Although I think AOB is an okay.
I'm so
coach.
disappointed in that. Yeah. Anyway.
But Hasler and Bellamy twice. Like, you take that one. And
top
Flanagan.
Coaches,
Flanagan's a top coach despite the PEDs. And minutes and rotations have been inconsistent. When we are dominant, we have had great interchanges because we can bring guys on. But when we haven't been winning the middles, we seem to keep those guys on longer to try and solve the problem. And again, just selections like you believed in Ford and capable to start, and now it's Marata, Barnett. So we've kind of changed our philosophy on what we felt was important. Two back rowers that could play 80 minutes, and then you use Marata's impact. You kind of changed. Now I think this comes back to Webby. Kind of this will be a massive year for him learning wise.
100%.
This will be better for him long term than what last year was. So ultimately, I think, yes, he's made some mistakes. He's learning on the job. I think he's, some of his comments and stuff have ultimately have been, he's had to say things to maybe quell things in the back room or, amongst the team, but it comes off sometimes as, and he's maybe hiding or masking stuff. He's trying his best to keep everything under calm, but there might be some tension going on. So that's my ultimate. I don't know. That's just an offload. What's your any thoughts on all those thoughts, bro?
There's a lot of it's great, bro. It's good to really nail down little things that are going on for the season because I hear the same stereotypical, simple things in the comment sections a lot. A lot of what I heard is Webby picks the same team every week. A lot of things I've heard that he won't change on a lot of his philosophies or plan B, plan A, which you've kind of pointed down. A lot of those things have been happening that a lot of people haven't been seeing. One of them that I've always noted on early is the movement on Jackson Ford and obviously seeing that our preferred defensive side to start the season was our left side. And due to, even though Jacko was one of our highest missed tackle type forwards in our team, he's a high work rate, last ditch effort tackler sort of player that plugs a hole. I have a feeling that ever since we made the move for Jacko in the middle was to do very similar things of what got broken down in the Titans on the weekend, is to plug a hole in the middle to cover that we lack our middles really buying in with our edges, like tying in with our edges. And we saw that get really picked apart on the weekend, which is to defeat the purpose of why we had Jackson Ford in the middle really overall. But I think this season frustrates me so much more because I can understand everything that why Webby's doing what he's doing and why he did what he did throughout this whole season is from the start of the season, he's been saying group. This is a group. Everyone's in this together. No matter what's going on here, the top 30 that he's picked is the top 30 he expected no matter what. When shit goes wrong, they're going to be the ones to pull him out of the fire. It's not going to be on anything else. That's the way we're going to go about it, right? So when everything was going to go wrong, why wouldn't he go off of his principle of this group together will make everything get us out of the hole that we're in, right? I feel like from the start of the season, he got questioned quite a bit on his attacking systems and not seeing what he was doing in our defensive systems to start to try and really get into the season. I've got another theory of why this sort of thing fell off, and we'll probably get to it a little bit later on too. So I don't think this is just on Webby changing everything around in our systems and stuff, but I think a lot of people just see the same thing again and again, and when they see it not working so quickly, they want changes so quickly. And in a football side, you can't do that. And unfortunately, with injuries, you got to see how many changes we had to make this year and why that just replacing people like that does not work. And it's never worked. And not one team in this competition has ever showed to win the competition, you change a player when they have one bad week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've always found it so frustrating. A lot of the commentary around a lot of people thinking, oh, like, Webby doing this, Webby doing that. And I feel it really frustrating. It's getting to a head at the moment to where we're not winning games of football, where I really do feel like there's something more going on. The group's not coming together. And I feel like Webby's doing the best he can to bring the group together. And the best he can do that is to bring the group together, name on a piece of paper, make sure they go out there, they bleed blood with each other and they get better from that. It's not working currently right now. And I think we're at a point now where it's probably going to cut an edge, as we see with SJ moving in and out. But it just frustrates me, that whole mentality of just chop and changing when you've just ran through top to bottom, the amount of changes, the amount of system changes, the amount of like attacking changes we've made this year that you've pointed out too, majority of the year. We've gone from a system that was revolved around SJ and Metcalf to a system that now is completely so far away from that, where we were trying to balance Tamade Martin and SJ in one whole team and have Chauncey be the player out the back of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's completely, and I don't think a lot of fans see it that way. I think fans just see the result at the end of the day, see what happens, like, the scoreboard at the end of the day and go, well, he did exactly the same thing. What is he going to think? But they don't see the little things. And that's really unfortunate sometimes. But we'll touch on a little bit more too, bro, because I do want to bring up about some people that I really feel like could be a big issue at the club that we might need to sort out. And there's a deadline that's coming up very shortly that I think that we might be playing with. This is all speculation, but
okay.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on all that? What's your thoughts on, I know I rambled a little bit, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I think, look, there's a whole bunch working at play here. I go back to that starting point. What was the view of this year from us as fans? And maybe it's different from the club, but it was like this was the last dance for SJ and it hasn't turned out to be that. And in fact, it's turned out to be more of, is the depth ready to transition up? Look, I'll be honest and just say it straight. I don't think RTS and Capewell have worked. That's just my opinion. Now, the integration of the cup guys, there was always going to be I felt going to be a drop off. I thought it was going to be 2025, 2026, because you got to transition some of those guys up. Now, Webby's been very adamant not to bring those guys through yet. Like, he's moved Walker out. We saw that on the weekend, moved Walker out because he didn't want to start Laban for whatever reason. Or you've talked about a Dimitri Sifakula that's been on your radar. And I'm seeing Walker out there. He's down on bended knee, like he's proposing. Yeah, by Jaden, he's out there giving a proposal. He's getting married, bro. He's on his knees begging. He's on saying his prayers pretty much. Put in these positions where a young athletic guy like a Sifakula might, if he had some game time this year, or I don't know, could do a good job there. Seen a 3-game window where these young kids came up and just put their best effort and showed the energy that we're missing, lifted the team, inspired the team, whatever. And Webby's been hesitant to really let those guys come through and win any spots. So I think there's just this kind of, we all have to understand there's kind of this rebuild phase or this transition phase. Was Sean going to obviously retire at some stage, whether it was this year or next year? Tohu's on his last legs. AFB's gone. Now we solved some of that with JFH, but there's always going to be this period where it's going to think now, whether it's come sooner or later, That's the question to answer. And that for
Yeah.
me changes the whole perspective of what this year was supposed to be. For myself, maybe I overhyped it for myself. Maybe I came in with too high expectation. And everyone that
Mm,
was on things saying, like James Graham, that these things happen and drop off, maybe right. I even think there's a transition in the NRL with the speedier fullbacks and the speedier teams are dominating games.
yeah.
You look at the size-wise, we should have been able to compete with the Titans, but they just blew us off the park speed-wise. Couldn't keep
Yeah.
up. You know what I mean? So the game has evolved. There's just so much happening. And it's just hitting us from everywhere. We can't cope.
I,
And I feel for Webby from a humanity perspective. He's
mm,
got a lot happening, bro. I swear, like this guy's got
I,
tons
I
happening.
really do feel, bro, like, because you've made a lot of good points, right? And I think like the expectation running into this year, and even I held that expectation too, bro. Like when I saw what we did last year, you see our roster, and to be fair, you watch that, you really, we're not wrong for thinking that. We're not wrong for thinking that our club should have been another top 4 team. Unfortunately, this is how some seasons go, especially when you're a club trying to get to a level of the top clubs in the competition. Like, the Panthers took a long time to get to that point, right? And maybe we were naive a little bit thinking that, the whole prediction last year was that we were going to be one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the competition. That was the whole prediction. If you remember the start of last year, we weren't meant to be anywhere close to the top 4 race because of what we dealt with through COVID. Our development systems were all shot. We didn't have development systems. Everything was wrecked by COVID. A lot of players had to jump up very, very early, and it wrecked a lot of development very, very early. The players that we're so excited for that were going to make a name in a squad, Viliami Valiers, you know what I mean? Even like players like Rocco Berry have carried a really hampered name coming into grade, because I remember those COVID days where Rocco had 1 or 2 errors and people hold that to him all the way through. Ed Cossey's still dealing with that Storm game mentality, even if he's not been that great, right? He hasn't been that great, but he's still dealing with getting over that mentality early.
Yeah.
Coming into this year, I feel like the signings were more of an experienced look of trying to usher in the new age later on, really hold them down together and bring them up as a group together. I think we've pointed out it a couple of times, but it's taken till probably about midway to the season before I started looking at it going, maybe it wasn't supposed to be what we were thinking it was supposed to be. Maybe we were trying to continue, like, obviously it's been a failure of a year, and I think Webby still had aspirations for a top 4 or a grand final, all that sort of stuff, but I think the main aspirations was to create a standard for the club. So when these young kids come up, they can hold that standard all the way through. And maybe he was naive too, thinking that the group that we had there was rock solid enough to continue on those standards and to usher in these new players all in. I think he's been worried of what we dealt with in COVID. I think he's been worried of, we had Viliami Valiers in there that everyone wanted in there. Then these sort of defensive, inefficiencies that he had and gone, well, he's not the option. And we've had Pompey in there, and Pompey's always carried that name now of being that error-riddled player that everyone's just like, Adam Pompey's shit. Then next minute we bring in RTS, and RTS has only been there for 3 or 4 games before everyone goes, well, now chuck him out the door. We want Adam Pompey back in there because he's our best center option. One season that changed both ways, right? So you're going to bring a young player into this competition that if he's going to start making errors, he's starting to become a name. There's going to be a name for, like, Rocco dealt with that. That last tackle play in the COVID years, he hasn't gotten over that. Was it not passing a ball or passing the ball out, ruining one of our last moments where we were never going to get over top? We're never going to finish that year out on top position. Like, you got to understand that. I know everyone wants so much, wants to see these young boys and wants to see all these boys in the light, because we've been both, everyone's so excited for the juniors that we have going through. And they're all incredible, guys. They are incredible. But we got to understand that this all takes time. They got to learn how to win down below before they can win up top. I really do believe that Webby wants to keep them together so they can have success in their grade before they jump up and have success in our grade and learn the game properly and not get jumped up so early that it ruins their development forever. We've had, Tanoa Brown, when he got brought over, he had so much hype around him as a front rower. What happened to him? Jackson Fry. We had him in our COVID years that had a lot of potential, and we put him in way too early in those COVID years. Like, you watch all those COVID games, name the amount of young juniors that we're all looking and going, he's going to be the next big thing. Remember that Fijian winger we had, Ratuva?
Ratuva.
Bro, the amount of people that wanted Ratuva and he had a couple of games was absolute mud, but unfortunately he had no development under him. This is the thing. Like, I feel like fans, as soon as everything goes wrong, unfortunately, we are planning for a long-term thing. This is not a short-term thing. We aren't going to win a premiership in the next couple of years, even though I was hoping, we were all praying for it. We got to be positive for these things, but we also got to understand that the reason why Webby's at our club is a long-term play. It's the systems that he's doing from top to bottom. If you have not noticed, in our Harold Matts, we have won a grand final in our first year that we're in Harold Matts. And what system was played in that system? It was Andrews Webster's system getting played from the juniors. Ask any Kiwi boy how they learn how to play rugby league comparatively to Aussie rugby league. Ask any Kiwi boy. Every Kiwi mate that I've had coming from New Zealand and coming over to Australia said it's so much more technical over here in Australia. You don't get hurt over here in Australia just as much. Back in New Zealand, everyone wants to take your head off. They want to smash you. That's all they care about in the game. It's the difference, bro. And I'll be completely honest with you. That is the thing. Webby's trying to put systems into the schooling systems, the younger juniors, so they're not going to union, learn how to play football properly, so they aren't so injury riddled, they aren't error riddled, and they come up through the juniors together. Our New South Wales Cup team currently right now, I'm pretty sure is top 4 in the competition, if not just outside of top 4. Having a great year under him, where we're seeing so many good juniors playing together, like Zion, Sifakulas, they've come out and said they want to be warriors for life and they want to come together as a group. There's a change in this club that people can't just like keep looking at the first grade squad. It's so disappointing out there, and I agree. I'm frustrated with the first grade squad as well, but Webby's a little bit more than just the first grade coach. He's the system maker of what's going on with our whole organization. I think we need to start looking at that a little bit more than just what he's doing out there on a team list every single week. Because unfortunately, the group that he's holding in out there is just to place hold the places those kids are going to bring up in the future when they are ready. Unfortunately, they aren't completely ready for consistent football. They really aren't. We saw 3 games, amazing stint, right? If they go out a whole season, it's going to end up being like the West Tigers. It's going to end up being like those other teams that have put all their juniors in early, totally fucked them out, and we won't see them ever again. They'll be on the chopping block. It's just the way it is, bro. That's my complete thought on it. Again, we'll touch on another thing that I think is the issue with the first grade squad, but Webby is not the issue with the first grade squad. No way.
Cool, man. No, love it, man. And I just want to maybe just change tack a little bit. Guys, we're just sharing this stuff, and I hope, and we're sharing it from the heart. We all love this club, and I see some people in the chat, different views. It's all good, man. It's all love. But I just wanted to actually, I was listening to Mansour and the Fox, and he was talking about how Mansour, he got injured one time, and then Brian Tor came in, and the rest was history. Like, Brian Tor took his spot. Who do you think from the cup players was, if they were to come in for someone that was injured, would take their spot and never give it back? Is there any guy right now that you think, just from a quiz type of thing?
On potential, bro, I could name a lot of players on potential, but I can't just sit there and go like they're going to go all the way through. Like, I've seen a lot of things from Leka Halasima that I just was like, I'd love to see him in first grade to see how he deals with contact. But unfortunately, I don't want to wreck his development, bro. Sifakula is probably the only one for me right now where I can sit there. I really do think that he's got a different mentality where I'm like, yeah, all right, he can play first grade and he'll be good no matter what. But out of everyone else, bro, I really don't see, not yet anyway. Like, it's tough to say. You got to see it like in first grade in general anyway, you know?
Yeah, no, it's just food for thought and gives us some ideas. Hey, but appreciate everyone here. 157 in here, guys. Man, massive. Thank you for everyone coming in. Let's get up to 50 likes, guys, minimum. We appreciate the support, but give us a like. It helps populate all that we're doing. And give us a subscribe if you are here for the first time. And everyone on Instagram, thank you very much. Sorry not getting to your comments, but come over to Wires Up TV and give us a like and subscribe. I think it's a good chat, brother. Should we move on?
That was awesome, bro.
To the team list. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's dive into this team list, man.
Or did you want to talk about like did you want to lastly put the last little bow on the thoughts around the first grade squad and why we aren't going as well as what we are?
Yeah.
Or do you want to wait till later? What's your thoughts?
I've kind of shared what my thing. I think I've got no answer technically. Do you have an answer?
Okay. I can't sold out. Like, as I said, if you gone and checked out my video, guys, go check it out. And I can't nail down just to one person, right? I don't want to nail down to one person, but I would say for me, if I'm going to run my eye over the issue on that, unfortunately, our leaders are definitely not up to scratch of what we thought they were. And one of the biggest leaders that we thought we had in the middle last year already has his foot out of the door. And it's Adam Fanor-Blake. And I know I've seen a lot of comments online on, like, you know, statistically, Adam Fanor-Blake's absolutely incredible. And I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm not saying that in attacking football, he's like not one of the best full front rowers in the game. But we've had a problem with resilience ever since the point where I always pointed out to, and I brought it up so many times on the potty, in that, like, I do believe that we've had 3 parts to the season. We've had an amazing start. I know we lost 2 games early on, but people have got to remember the football we were playing for fairly early on was absolutely incredible. Like, everyone will tell you that.
Yep.
The 3-game stint that we had, we only conceded at on average 8.9 points per game. The Rabbits game before that, the Knights one, and the Raiders game, those 3 games there. What happened after that Rabbitohs game? There was a massive signing for the club.
You think it's JFH?
There was a massive shift. Everyone was looking forward to everything. Then you start to put everything together from the start of the season. And again, I don't want to single out Adam Fanor-Blake because I feel like there's other leaders that could carry over from Adam Fanor-Blake that could have held the pedestal up, a la maybe Tohu Harris. Maybe, you know, and I felt the only player that I've seen do that this year is Mitch Barnett. And there's a reason why Mitch Barnett was our captain when, you know, Tohu was out and we had to run him in that 3-game stint that we end up winning. There's a reason for that. Now, unfortunately, when Fisher Harris end up getting signing, the Manly game comes and we were just unable to get over the top of the Manly Seagulls. But the first photo I've ever seen, as soon as the AFB issue came out in the Penrith Panthers, was a Manly photo of him not standing with the group of players there.
Yeah.
That's the first photo I've ever seen of him not doing that. I've always think that he has this mentality of like, I'm too cool. Like, you know, he's an intimidating figure. He's got that mentality, right? He's an alpha dog, that sort of stuff. I'm too good for this, that sort of stuff, right? He's always had that. But that was the first time I've seen a photo out there be like, his foot outside the door. And again, I made a TikTok where I was like, no, guys, no way. Like, statistically, he's unreal. Everything I've seen from him this year, I was like, he's been holding his end of the bargain. But the more and more you start to see where we start to go for our dips, the one thing when I spoke on Run It Straight with, you know, Sammy Hewitt and Anthony Gelling, a word kept getting brought up is called resilience. And it's the one key word that we've missed from last year. When we're on our line, when shit doesn't go our way, our leaders stood up last year. And one of our biggest leaders from the middle has not stood up in the hardest moments of our game this year.
Preach, baby.
Unfortunately, from that game on, all the way up till, and then the Panthers situation comes out. You know what? I know we won that Panthers game, but guess what? We had one of our worst periods and one of our worst performances against the Roosters before that Panthers game. And he wanted to kick a stink after a game that he ended up playing, 30 minutes or whatever. We end up bringing him off. He had 2 bad errors in that game, was completely off the pace in that game. Something more has happened with him, and something more has happened with that in the sheds. I don't know what's going on. But then, as soon as he got drifted away from the squad, we had a couple other injuries in that. You started to see resilience get back into our game a little bit there. We even had that Dolphins game where we dragged him out, and we ended up holding up holding up with the Dolphins, a top 4 team that are playing amazing football at the moment. We went head to head there with juniors, and they did an amazing job. And then next minute, as soon as all the big boys come back, the Cowboys game, incredible. As soon as we play front foot footy, everything goes well. Yeah, sweet, we're good. As soon as shit goes wrong, that's when our leaders need to stand up. And unfortunately, when we have one of our biggest leaders in the middle, which is supposedly the best prop in the game, the biggest leader to our forward pack, the alpha dog of our forward pack, If he's already looking out the back door and is saying in the hardest moments, if you're defending on your line, if you're defending in big moments and you don't want to be there and you understand that you've got a way out, and now apparently you've understand that the replacement for me is already been set in stone, what are you going to do? As a worker in a workplace, if you already know that you've got a job lined up, unfortunately, he's been professional all the way up to a point, but there's been a point this year where things have changed. And unfortunately, it has come to the back of negative performances, right?
Yep.
And he's got his foot outside the door. In my opinion, that's what I see with my eyes. The only thing that I don't see with that is when you see little reels and stuff, he's getting around with the group and that, like I see him smiling a little bit and that, where it's like, I don't see that side of him. But when you watch him on a football field, the Titans game on the weekend was the biggest showing of that. He made a couple of really crucial moments, misses tackles. There was the Keanu Keeney inside play that they've run twice. The first time, Dylan Walker, injuries, couldn't make the tackle. He put his body in front though, didn't he? He tried to get there. The second one, who was trying to cover from that inside there for Tohu Harris, and who put his hands up and didn't do anything from the inside? It's Adam Fanor-Blake. And then after the game, he looks at the Titans boys, he looks at the Warriors boys, looks at our bench, and then walks to the sheds. Didn't shake anyone's hand.
Yo.
Like that, as a fan, that frustrates me. And then every other player walked around and signed things for the boys that were out there, signed things for our fans. All our leaders that have been through that 66-0 drumming showed face to all our fans. And apparently one player didn't turn out to that little meeting after the game where all the members came together. Who do you think it is?
Yeah, well.
It frustrates me, man. And unfortunately, there is a June 30 cutoff date. Well, fortunately, if the club wants to make a big stand, there's a June 30 cutoff date, so no other team can have him if they were able to release him. And I don't know if our club's waiting in for that point. I don't know if we're trying to buy in till that June 30 mark comes so he doesn't have to go to the Sharkies early. He doesn't have to go to any other place early. But I strongly think that if there's a toxic culture going on at a club, there's a reason why Webby won't allow some of our young boys up and play with him if he has a chance to.
Oh.
There's a strong, I think there's got to be something there. May as well cut it off. Cut it off. We'll be better to look to the future. Unfortunately, I love him, right? I love him. His talent's incredible. Everything he's done for us last year, thank you so much. You've been amazing. You're the best prop in the game, 100%. But this year, there's been some things that really not gone our way. And when we needed a leader, unfortunately, he definitely wasn't there for us. So that's just my thoughts, bro.
No, I said it too, bro. And I said, I did a little video of when anything came out. I said, what you do is you have a talk with him and you nut it out and you say, hey, what's the problem? What's happening? And I said, if you had any doubt in that moment with the way he presented it and said, nah, it's all good, whatever, cut.
Yeah.
Because you can't have that cancer in the club.
Yep.
And we've been having a good 18 months as fans. The players look happy. Everyone's been good right up until he started to really muck up, you know.
Yep.
Now, so what's this cutoff thing, bro? So if they can release him after or before?
I'm just gonna double check on this. So I think it's June 30. The NRL has a cutoff period. It's what happened. Remember, Tavita Pengai Jr. went to the Panthers.
Oh yeah.
I was pretty sure it was before that period, but you cannot sign anyone after that June 30 cutoff period there.
So they're gonna hold him. You're gonna reckon hold him until after that cutoff?
It's the only way I can think of them making it happen. If this was ever a thought in our heads to get rid of something like this and for the release to happen, because honestly, if he's agitating for a release, he's probably got something ready to go, and it would be the Sharkies. This whole year, the Sharkies, they medically retired Finucane. They've got money there waiting. I honestly do believe that if there was any way to, and I know it's probably hampered our season, but maybe the Warriors were waiting out to June 30 so no one else can take him off him. Again, this is all speculation. I have no rumors to this, bro, but you start putting a lot of things together and you start to really figure out that maybe we are trying to play this smart. Not smart as in the way our first grade is gone, but smart as in not giving another team a massive leg up for the competition or giving Adam Fanor-Blake everything he wants is a premiership and moving back home with everything going on.
So you're saying to me, if they hold him after the 30th of June, they can release him still to another club or whatever the club they want.
I
Or
don't know the
he has to
full inner
stay.
workings if he has to stay or whatever the go is there. But I know after that, no club can sign a player after June 30.
So you're saying maybe he's trying to get out before June 30, which is a couple of days away?
I think that he's either kicking up a stink, so on his end that he gets what he wants out of that, or I don't know, bro. From what I've seen from him this season, he's had amazing moments when we play positive, but when we play negative football, he's the first one out the door.
So it could be release. I was seeing in the chat, release but not able to play. That could be another option, right? Where he gets released and he doesn't have to play. He's released, but he can't play for anyone. I
could be wrong, but I was so sure that the reason why Pangai ended up going to the Panthers
Pangai did it.
was before that June 30 cutoff. And there was a June 30 cutoff that I'm pretty sure you can't sign a player from another club, or you can't do it that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but again, it feels free. Oh, look, here we go. So top 30 players by June 30 or the first working day thereafter. If June 30 falls on the week, where is this? 24, 30 players. The Monday prior, top 30. Again, I could be wrong, but from what I've heard, June 30 is the cutoff.
Everyone smashed the hashtag June 30 in AFB's comments, bro. Warriors channels, Instagram, go hashtag June 30, bro. Let's get it pumping, and again, man.
As I said, right, like I'm pointing Adam Fanor-Blake out because I honestly do believe he's one of our big leaders, but I do think that we, as a first grade side, have fallen in many other areas as well. I think there's players that definitely haven't stood up and that haven't stood up around those issues, but I just think that having a player, I think that we thought that it was going to be okay, and unfortunately, we didn't think that we were going to have a sore period. To where Adam will start looking, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, it's just the way things going. As soon as everything goes negative, bro, it would be so hard to, you know what I mean? Like it's just the way it is.
Yo, strictly last team. Hashtag June 30. Hashtag hold him prisoner. Yo, bro, bombard the socials, bro. That'd be crack up. I think you're onto something here, bro. But it's all the stuff he's doing is intentional. Like I know on the field and stuff. It's all when he's putting his head it's all to generate this thing for him. You know, this selfish thing. It's selfish.
Yep.
You know, at the end of the day, whatever's happening. Yeah, but bro, that's a good one, man. Let's everyone keep posted for that. That might be around the corner, man. Ash, feel it, bro. Bang on there. And everyone in the chat.
I could be wrong, bro, but like it's the only thing. Like we can't. I just feel like this situation has gone too far, and even in general, for me, I'm this like. Unfortunately, he seems to be in the middle, a big part of what's going on at the moment. I know a lot of people look at his stats and stuff and say he's been incredible. He hasn't dropped off. He's one of the most talented front rows in the league. He still scores tries. He does amazing things like that. What I'm talking about is when we are losing games and when players need to stand up. And I don't remember one point this season where he stood up in the toughest game that we had.
Yeah, bro. Nah, mate, appreciate it, man. And guys, like I said, keep an eye out for this. I think you're onto something. But at the end of the day, bro, for me, it's like I said, if you have a man-to-man talk with him back then, and if you felt there was any doubt in what he said, cut him then. But if we're playing the long game here, I love it. I love the club. Always back the club. Especially in this situation.
Yep.
We'll wait till June 30. Next day release, bro. Don't care.
Yep.
And just talking hypotheticals, how would you then approach the rest of the season? Would you then go into rebuild mode, or do you you bring in Bunty, or do you bring in like a Zion Mayu and you start the process fresh, or do you think we're still in salvaging the season mode? Just hypothetical.
For me, at the moment, just Bunty. Just run out with Bunty. We're still going to be, you know, Bunty did a job for us. Like he's been doing a job for us from the start, right? I think he'll do a great job there. I think that run with Bunty. Zion currently is injured till I think it was late on. He had a pretty bad ankle injury. From memory, the tackle was a pretty gruesome one too. I think he got like third manned or whatever in a tackle and he was gone for a bit. But even we could look at Sifakula if we have to. He's in our top 30 squad. I'm sure he's around the group. He's been come back and he's looked pretty fairly well. So definitely we'll be looking into it. But I really do think, bro, as soon as you got one person in the group that just doesn't want to turn up, a lot of people that start looking at that, it's really hard to give you 100% effort when you got someone. It's like it's a chain and ball sometimes. As soon as everything goes bad, it's really tough to do that. As I said, I'm not just pointing out just one thing there. I do believe some of the leaders that we needed to be there need to stand up. And I do think that if Mitch Barnett was there, we probably would have, he would have been looking people dead in the eyes and saying, you're putting in the effort that you need to. And I think that's the best thing about Mitch. But I really think that if you got something toxic like that, it's time. Like, unfortunately, it happens in a lot of clubs. Like, it's time.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely. Hey, man, 180 people here. We appreciate the love, man. Massive for us. That's like 131 on YouTube, 46 on Twitter, and 22 on Instagram. Please, guys, hit that like and subscribe. I don't know where it's at, but we want to get minimum 50. If we can get to 100, that'd be great. But minimum 50 for sure tonight. Man, really good chat. Hey, I think everyone needed that catharsis kind of release of it.
Just need it out there, brother.
We got to get it out, man. Get out of the system. We'll focus in now. We've zoomed out. We'll zoom back in. We'll hit this team list right now, guys. Look, let's hit it. Chan's at the back. Dallon's back. Great stuff. Roger still in the centers. Those that have watched the little video of him on his Ducati, it's pretty cool. Did you think? I never thought of him as a motorbike guy, but it's like, you know, when you see someone do something out of the norm, you're like, you're not a motorbike dude. What are you doing on a motorbike? But it's pretty
Roger,
cool,
baby.
Yeah. Pompey in the centers and Montoya. So that's your back five with Chanel, Harris, and Tamari Martin. We'll talk about that. The man we just talked about, June 30th, Mr. AFB, hashtag June 30 is at your starting prop. So watch carefully what he's going to do during the game. Wade Egan, Jackson Ford still there. Marata and Mitchie B back. Hopefully Mitchie B doesn't get called up unless those dirty Queenslanders try and do a HIA whack. Try and give one back for Holder. What's his name? Yeah, do one back for Suoli's job. But hopefully Mitch gets his payment, get his 50K, and just chill and come fresh. For
he deserves it.
Yep. Tohu captain, starting lock. Bench a little bit different. Freddie Lussick, Dylan Walker, Jazz, and Curdy Capewell. Now I hope he plays 80 minutes. No, I actually don't. I don't. It's weird. I want him to play, but then I don't want him so he stays fresh. So who cares anyway? Bro, what's your thoughts on the squad? What's your thoughts on the overall squad? Happy with it?
Yeah, fairly strong, bro. Like fairly strong top to bottom. I think, obviously with the news that no SJ this week. So, Tamari Martin and Chanel Harris Tavita comes in, and it's what everyone has been calling for the last, how many weeks? No SJ. So, we're going to have to see this go again. The only drawback I have to Tamari Martin is his kicking game still not to where I really want it to be. People do forget. If you go watch that Dolphins game, a couple of the side off the boot ones, those sort of ones where, Sean Johnson definitely has a better kicking game out of the two, but he'll do an amazing job because when we go into attacking sets, he's a gunslinger, as you've been brought up multiple different times. He's not afraid to throw that pass you need to throw, those short balls, especially on double leads. I think he's really good to have back in that 7. Again, with ads, I'd go out there, prove me wrong. If you're not the problem, bro, go out there, prove me wrong. So good to see him there. If he's going to prove me wrong, show me out in the football field. Mitch Barnett, excited for him to come back. I really do think he's a leader that we have been missing. And I'm so excited. I know we shouldn't be looking into next year, but as I brought out in my video, having Fisher Harris and Mitch Barnett at a club that's going to look people dead in the eye and say, you holding standards is probably the best thing we need for our club. And I would have thought Murata Niakore would be a part of that as well. So we've got a couple of real, big, strong boys that'll look guys dead in the eyes and say, this is what you got to do. And then on that bench, look, Freddie Lussick back in that 14, good to see. I think he'll plug a hole for a middle period there. Defensively, he's a strong middle, hooker. Walker, hopefully he's dealing well with his injuries because he's been carrying a lot. Like his ankles seem to be tore to bits at the moment. So hopefully he can get through a solid game there. Jazzy and Cody Catewell. Hopefully he, gets back into some sort of form, learns a couple of things from the Maroon squad, and really gives it out in this game against this Broncos side, because it's going to be a tough slog, whether it's the Broncos top side or not top side. Either way, we are in a slump, and we need to get out of that slump doing all the hard stuff. So I think we've named a team that can do that. Again, Adam, if you heard what I said, go prove me wrong out there. Prove me wrong.
Baby, G30.
I hope I'm wrong. I love him as a football player, but the way everything's going at the moment, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Hey, guys, I've just been sorry, Ash, and wasn't
right,
fully zoning into those comments, but just saw a comment here from in the chat saying, "Did you guys see Sean Johnson's post?" I'm just going to read it. I'll bring it up just as a little. Do you mind just taking off that what's it called, the layer?
Gotcha.
And yeah, feel for Sean. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit.
Has this just dropped? Has this just dropped?
Yeah. Saying better turn off these comments, bras, and saying just like you, I see the comments, and damn, some of you are savage. If you're one of those who find comfort in slamming others online, I hope everything is okay. The words don't carry weight this time around, but they could for the next person you choose to spew your negativity on. Think before you type. On the other hand, to those who have checked in or sent a message, I appreciate your perspective is key. I'm at a stage where 80 minutes doesn't define me like it once did. Still get to live a pretty cool life with the best people in it. Shawball Johnson won't be on the field for a bit. I'm frustrated, but we will be doing everything to get back to the level I know I can. Thoughts on that, bro? Feel for him, man. I feel this is just savage, like for me, doing content, and I know sometimes maybe I can be a bit with my analytics, but I never intend to harm, nor do I, for me, SJ, like you said, is one of the GOATs of our club, might be the greatest of all time. And I still think he's our best half, no matter what. It clearly sounds like for me, those messages are, and it's a toxicity within the Warriors fan base, but not just the fan base, people in New Zealand, people in Australia. So there's okay, someone's saying swipe across. Let me just see what else is there. Okay, so retire. Oh my goodness, yeah. Okay, so yeah.
That's a nice one to end it off with.
Yeah. And like, man, I've been tied into this thing with Sean and Tamari, and I think it's been unfair on both of them. I think it's been a bit unfair on even what's it called, Tamari and the coach, and I think it's just a tough period. And he's not all to blame, and but it's just a shame to hear all that stuff, bro. And people forget, man. People forget. Like, bro, if I'm being honest, like I think Sean carried us through that 2012 or to 2017 or whatever it was. We were crap, man. We were absolute rubbish, and a lot of the stuff he was doing in that period kept the Warriors valid, man. He kept the eyeballs on the team. And I just think, he carried us through that tough period, man. And we're finally seeing him do well as well, and with a new coach and a good system. And it's a shame that it's at the end of his career when it could have been at the start,
Yeah.
But still, what's your thoughts, bro?
I think, like, as I said, there's just ways you can word things a lot differently. And I think it's not just a sports thing. I think it's also a social media thing too. Like, I think a lot of people get tied down to it's a lot easier to type quick, easy words that say, a lot of things that can mean many different ways, right? But also, like, as I said, like, you could word anything differently. Like, for me, as I said, when I make the video, like, I'm the biggest Sean Johnson fan. I love Shawnee. There's a massive reason why I follow the club. If not, like, one of the main first reasons I've started following the club. I understand that injuries, his body isn't where it used to be, and where it comes to a point where, listen, I love you. You've been amazing for the club, but, like, I think we need to start looking elsewhere would be the best way people could type those sort of things, instead of saying we are better without you. You're done.
Yeah, bro.
You're the problem. Like that's the biggest thing I have. The biggest problem I have sometimes with social media is instead of articulating a little bit better, because I know sometimes you get cut off with, wording, or, a lot of people find it a lot easier to say, you're the problem, goodbye, instead of saying, um, brother, I love you. But unfortunately, I do believe that like we need to move forward, not just for you, but for us. And, your body, like we want the best out of you. We don't want anything, like we don't want to see you at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like there's other ways you can word things. And I think this is the biggest problem here. And it hurts so much, bro, when you see one of the main reasons why you follow the club get to the point where he's at now, where he's become the scapegoat that he was for multiple years there too. Whenever the Warriors weren't going well, it's because of Sean Johnson. And sometimes it's just the weight you carry as a halfback and one of the best halfbacks in the game, as a top playmaker for a one country club, right? But
Yep.
you gotta give him his respect and understand that, as I keep saying, he wasn't the problem over the weekend. I think it's a club issue, but again, like hate is never the way you do things, guys.
Yeah.
It's never the way. You gotta love, you gotta respect.
It's and for us, for me, I said, you can hit Sean for a quick play of the ball, target him. That's just performance stuff. That's not criticizing Sean as a person and
100%.
hating him. And it's not revisionist either, like to say, oh, everything that Sean done, he's rubbish. No, we just, we're criticizing performance, analyzing it. Okay, there's some deficiencies here, but ultimately, that's as far as we go.
Yep.
And we don't go any further, but people have been going further than that, messing with them.
Yep.
Look, man, I've been getting a lot of heat for my videos. I've got all the Storm fan coming in on me right now. all the Titans are coming and going, oh, where was that when we put 66 on you, man? I'm like, oh, But that's all banter.
That's a friendly banter. Yeah.
That's banter. That's fun. I'll take that on the chin. That's all good. It's nothing to me personally in my personal life. But when you start getting too personal, people, that's when it's a problem. So, yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for people bringing that up. I think that's a good time to touch on it. We're kind of doing a deep dive, a deep and meaningful tonight anyway. So
it's good.
It's been good to just drop in and stuff. But let's just quickly go back to this team list, brother.
Yeah, bro.
I think I like it, man. I mean, hey, I think these are I think it's kind of scary, like what happened last week kind of puts me on edge a little bit. But at the same time, I feel that this team could probably turn it around against the Broncos team that's kind of struggling as well.
Yeah.
I think this Chanel Harris Tavita and Tamari thing, hopefully should just revert back to what they were trying to do previously. I think keeping it simple. We talked about it was a little bit too finesse. And maybe we just need to get back to those simple principles. Using your back row, we've talked about that this year. When we've used our back row as well, we've been really good. Get back to a simple kind of game plan. Even like you said, Tamari's game isn't the greatest, but he has some of those quirky kicks. It might keep teams off balance.
Yeah.
CHT will actually be able to come in and do some kicking, which is great when we talked about balancing out the field with different types of kicks.
Yeah.
So it's great to, I think that should give us a bit more consistency in terms of what the game plan is. Do you, Roger, do you think it's definitely right center still? Or do you think he goes to the left? Yeah, so he's going to hang there with Dallin. I like the speed element of that side. I actually like it, but how do we kind of get him involved say, I know he'll do a lot of his build-up work from the, I suppose, out the back. But what about like coming in over the halfway line, something set piece-wise? How do we get him involved? Do we use him as a double lead, kind of more of a decoy, or do you think he needs to get his hands on the ball, early ball? Because he's got a guy on his outside that can finish. Is it more about getting the distribution going, or do you think it's kind of creating something?
I'm really curious to see how we sort of run it, because we've seen so many different looks now, like within this little period of Webby trying to kickstart something of, our attack changing from when we have Tomaida and Shawnee there, which I think we've all agreed here, like, the comments all agreed, like we've just found out they're two halfbacks, and unfortunately, it just looks like it just won't work. And the best football that we've seen this season is when we have a proper halfback with a six, someone that can just take the second foil, and we'll play that way. You know, it happened when Shawnee was with Metcalf, and it's happened with Tomaides with Chanel, and it just seems to be the best way to do things. So the thing I question is whether when we go back to Tomaides with Chanel is where Chancey. I noticed that when we went Shawnee and Tomaides the first game, Chance went to that left edge and he played on that left edge. You know what I mean? He was predominantly left edge, where to start the year he was right edge and he was just sweeping out the back on the right. Whether we go back to Chancey playing on the right, creating the extra number as that fullback sweep, so we can allow, you know, Roger to either have that double lead look or even have Roger as a 3-on-2 option running an outline and really playing that sort of look as well. So it's curious for me. We'll touch on a little bit later on where we can attack the Broncos, and I do believe it's definitely down that side. I've got a lot of big stats that really back that up. It's a game that I think that Roger playing outside of Tomaides that will be willing to just sling that and get it out there early for him.
Ball. Yep.
I really do believe that maybe we'll start to see the best out of Roger, because everything else about a Roger's game, other than the Titans game, as I've brought out multiple different times, his run meters, his carries out of the back end is all elite. Like elite. He's averaging more meters than Joey Manu. He's averaging, more post-contact meters than these boys. And defensively, he's actually a better defensive center, going off statistically than Joey Manu this year. So, all these things are saying that he can do that at a high click. It's just now we get to see it. Now we get to see if Roger can be a center for a period here with Tomaides Martin there. This is the thing we've been waiting for, that little period there. We finally get to see it this weekend.
His carries were actually, there was a good, in the second half, he had some carries and he got us on the front foot. Like it just needs some consistency around it. And that's all I can ask for him, is just give him a consistent opportunities. Even this year we've struggled. Remember in the preseason, we kind of did the hit wide on the second tackle. We hit like 3 or 4 wide and get him early ball and let him. We haven't even gone back to that. I'm not sure why. Whether it's we've been shut down, then fair enough. But just simple things where we get him more touches on the ball in areas that he's strong in. So I think that's maybe one area we can improve in. But no, he was getting quick play of the balls. I think he was doing really well. Just
and
for
I really
me,
do think that. Sorry, bro. I really do think that for Roger, we need to start looking at like a Herbie Farnworth type of center. You know what I mean? Like Herbie's the way that I think Roger's game best suits is just that hard running, center. Not all centers have that ball playing out the back. Not all centers are like that. You got Katoni Staggs that very rarely has that sort of in his game as well. You've got, as I said, Herbie Farnworth. You don't see him, his tip-on players aren't there. It's a reason why at one point, the Dolphins moved him away from Jermaine Osako, because he wasn't giving him that early ball that Jermaine has in that edge. And I don't know if Rog has that in him, and we're yet to really see it because I don't think we've had a proper opportunity to see it out of him. And I sway the side. I don't know if we will see it. But his running game's the most damaging part in his game, and his defense, I still lead. His defense is the best defense for our centers currently right now, other than Rocco Berry. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just give him some opportunities in the strong points as much as you can. But I think even in his comments, he was saying like, I've got to learn not to be the focus. I've got to learn not to be the hero. I've got to learn just to do my job, and that's what we want. Like. The center position, we've talked about it tons, and especially in our system, you just got to do your job, man. So hopefully that settles for him. Just want to quickly touch on the bench. Freddie Lussick in. Do you see that as a kind of, maybe I felt Egan dropped off a little bit in the game. The whole team, too. The whole middles, but it was quite difficult for him. Are we seeing kind of Freddie kind of come in to maybe change him out early, or potentially start and do that whole he starts and then you sub him off? And what's your thoughts around the Lussick call?
Yeah, there's a possibility that could work. That Dolphins game from memory when he worked with Chanel and Tomaides, I thought he did really well, even though Paulie started out that game and then he got injured, and Freddie came on and did a lot of good work there. I think he only had one bad defensive read, but he ended up setting up a try, a really nice short ball at the line. And I know a lot of questions were bringing up about like how slow maybe his like passes off the ruck, and I think that will come in time. But I do think he's a good defensive hooker. that will tie in that middle really, really well. And when Wado needs a break, or if we could start with that, it could definitely be to our benefit. You know what I mean? The only thing I would say is when we're carrying Freddie, Dylan Walker, Jazzy, and Kurt Capewell, it is a very small bench. So I would have sway that we might have a late change as well. But then again, we could run with a small bench, and just judging on football these days, a smaller forward pack isn't too bad as what we thought back in the day. You see the Bulldogs being one of the better defensive teams with a smaller forward pack. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the game's moving towards speed, and if you can get the right balance of speed and strength, that's kind of the player you want. But I definitely see Freddie could play a role. Like, I don't think it does, and especially when you're on the back foot, it kind of reduces limits his game and then it just becomes a defender. And not to say he's a good defender, but you just want to take that time off of him. I think back to the Roosters game where I think Freddie started, and we had the horrible start, but then the game kind of picked up a bit with Egan coming off the bench. That's what I can see him being really valuable. So yeah, it is a bit of a smaller bench for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a late change, but ultimately I think it's the best we've got currently.
100%.
I'm just happy Barnett's back, and I think those two will probably get into game plan, but I'm thinking Barnett and Marata can have a big game.
I got a question.
Yep.
Is there any news on Bunty and why maybe Bunty is out of this lineup here?
I have no idea, but see the guy Bunty, for me, he would have been in this. I personally would have preferred Bunty as a starting front rower with Adam. I think the forward experiment's been pretty good, but it still doesn't quite seem right. There's something about Bunty's game that I actually appreciate. That he has a simple role. And even I know Ford's been good, but he's not actually I even prefer Barnett in that spot. But at the same time, I think Ford was okay at back row on the left side. But it's just that not quite what we need, and it's that mixing and matching thing, and Webby's trying to find solutions, and it's kind of just all become a bit of a mess and confusing at times. Do you feel that way about that whole situation?
A little bit. I'm starting to really key in on the areas that I think Webby is trying to fix, and just watching the game live on the weekend. As I said, shout out to Down Unders tomorrow. Me and Brody will be doing a show before the State of Origin and all that, because I was watching the game with Brody. So, he was watching a lot of I was watching, obviously, Marata Niokore. He was the one I was spotting up on, because I knew that Dave Fafita and him would be the matchup to really see how this game goes, because he had to defend with Sean and that. But he was watching how our middles were moving and how we weren't, as I said earlier on the show, tying in with our edges. And that's a really key part to a lot of good defenses. If you watch the best way you could watch it, and I know it's around Origin time, guys, so don't take me as this Queensland Maroons sort of thing, but if you watch the Queensland Maroons and you see how all of them move as a group, as soon as someone wants to push out or cover early, someone fills in the hole in behind. And that's what we really lacked over the weekend. And I don't know if that's something that, looking back on, we've lacked for a lot of periods this year, is especially when we have slower moving forwards, laterally through the middle of a Tohu or even an Aden, you know what I mean? They don't push that extra effort to cover that space. Where if you have a Jackson Ford, you have a Bunty Afoa, I think this is what Bunty does really, really well, is he, as soon as that edge back roll wants to push out a lot earlier and push that shape out wide, you know what I mean? He covers that inner hole, so if they come back on the inside, he's back on the inside, he's got a strong wrestle that way. So that's where I was if we're going to look at our best defensive side, it would be with Bunty Afoa and Jackson Ford, in my opinion. I really do believe that tying into the edges is a big thing that lost us the game over the weekend, and through the middle is where we really got hampered. And it's something that a lot of people didn't tie into, because I know Bumpy missed a couple of really bad tackles and that, and we've seen edge defense really fall apart. But it all starts from the middle. And you pointed out very early on, it was something that Tohu had last year. Remember we were talking, I think it was even the start of this year when we got Tohu back. you know, when Tohu was fresh and he was pushing our edges out really, really early to cover that shape fairly early. It's what we did really. It was last year, right? Sure, it was last year.
Yep.
Yeah. You remember this, right? And so
Yeah,
that's a key part in defense is if an edge back row is going to make the decision to push out early, which is a lot of things we saw over the weekend to try and shut down shape because we're worried about our edges getting cut up with speed. As soon as it comes back on the inside, we need to cover that hole and we got to move as a team. And that middle has got to work twice as hard to cover that hole. And that's how you work as a squad. So, and I think Bunty does that to a full effect. And also, lastly, before I get off this point too, Bunty Afar and Freddie Lussick, it's a team thing because the Titans did it as well and all that. But after a 66 point, 66-6, because those boys, obviously they're reserves in that, they legit did a 30 to 40 minute warm down or something like that. It was around that area. I'll probably way out on this, but they did like a big warm down where they pretty much just simulated a game speed there. After a 60-point drumming, that shows a lot of, we're doing it for the team. We're doing it for ability. They're doing a lot of up and backs and stuff like that. So shout out to Bunty and Freddie. Like, they could have easily kicked a stink and be like, the boys didn't show effort. We'll not show effort and half ask it. But those boys really got into it. And, fully respect to those guys out there.
Yeah. Bro, I agree with you. I think Bunty would have done all that dirty work, the tying in and, those gaps behind Tohu and all. I think, and that's what I like about him. I like forward, but I think we need a bit more of what Bunty bring. We're talking defense here. We need to solidify that blooming middle, man. And I think that's the answer for me personally. I'm not sure what's happened. But let's figure it out. Maybe it's a June 30 thing. Wait for the release.
It might work, bro. We just need to work as a squad. If you think about it, bro, the Panthers aren't just a sole individual middle. They're a group. They're a collective. They're the Bash Brothers. They're a two-piece that just go out there and do a job and they elevate each other. And, we got ads there. That's an individual, amazing prop, best prop in the game when everything's going well. But if we strip it back and we want a good defensive side, we need to work together as a team and not just a one-out player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. Hey, guys, thank you, everyone in here. Can you give us a like, please? And if you are here for the first time, give us a subscribe. We appreciate you guys. I did see a few cues out there. I think we've answered a few of them. Just quickly on this one, Jared saying, is this the last chance for RTS at center? It's been weird. He has had some good minutes, but it's weird. It doesn't. And then they're just quickly tying in with it. Do you think that RTS really suits our style? I don't know, bro. We're halfway through the season, still hasn't. There's a lot of validity to what you guys are saying, and it just feels a bit. Yeah, it's not quite there, but yeah, I mean, you got to. What's your thoughts on it, bro? Is it?
See, for me, I still. People are gonna hate me. I think that on the wing he does a lot of his best stuff there too. But I'll still hold on. I made the video on the weekend. I want him on the wing, but the more I keep thinking about it, like if his name wasn't Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I still think that he's a fairly good center. Defensively, he's unreal. I think we just need to with Tamade in there. I'm really curious to see if his attack will open up. But this will add on to that last question. Is this his last chance? If it doesn't work with Tamade, maybe it is him. And maybe we need to put him on the wing. And that's just the way it is. So I've pretty much put my hands up and said, listen, I'm up for him to be on the wing because that will probably, looking at the stats and everything like that, he'll be a great winger. But I'm still holding out to defensively, bro. I really do think there's something there of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at center. I really do.
I'm going to be devil's advocate a little bit. And I'm just going to say he might not even beat out Montoya and Dallin. Just devil's advocate. Might not be. He might not beat them. And might not be what we need at fullback either. Again, it just goes back to he might not suit this current style. Food for thought, but I think there's a fair argument. But we just need to see consistent games. No matter where he is on the field, you want to see him playing every week. So that's it for me.
If we'll put it this way, what are the things that you want to see out of Roger? Like the key areas you want to see out of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, or we'll put it this way, what is the key thing you want to see from our centers? And what are we looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, one for me is defensive stuff. Like and Pompey isn't excused either. He's leaked a ton of tries. And we've always said better defensively. I just wanted to see him get put in positions, and he hasn't been. Whether it's him being out of position or the team, they're not in sync. Like you said, give us a chance with Tamati. The other thing is distribution opportunities.
Yep.
Now, I think the issue is like he just hasn't had any ball, and I don't know why that is.
Yep.
But until we see that, and it's clear that it's like not, he's either in the wrong spots. I saw some stuff earlier with him and Tamaide on the left side, and he kind of wasn't in the right spots, but we thought there was Tamaide kind of not communicating.
Yep.
And then there's, but it's just, I'm just waiting to see it. But people saying there's a time running out. Yeah.
To that point, right? To that point, defensively, again, I'll go back to, I do believe outside of Rocco Berry, he's our best defensive center. I still wholeheartedly believe that. And even with Ali Leotar, if he was to come in, I still believe he's better defensively than Ali. And we saw it over the weekend. Some of the hits he put out on the weekend were amazing. Like contact-wise, he's there. And even that early block of the season where our defense was solid, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was our center for majority of that. He was around about our squad, right? So he's defensively there. The ball playing is a different thing, right? And like I can understand that. That's the one area where I'm like, I'll put my hands up to you 100%. But I could also name that many other centers that have been noted as the best centers in the league that don't have that. So my whole thing is on this whole Roger Tuivasa-Sheck thing is if his name wasn't Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, if his name was not Roger and we didn't expect him to be Daly M. Roger, we didn't expect him to be 20-year-old Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, it's so hard to take that away from him. But what would your thoughts be him as a center with the amount of ball that he actually does get? Because he gets through a lot of work when he doesn't get ball in really good places. Because his stats say that. Where is like, do we need to look at that a little bit more as well? You know what I mean? Like that's the devil's advocate too.
The only thing I've had, honestly, just the only real pet peeve I've had with Roger, the drop balls, the mental lapses. That's it.
I would say that. Where did those drop balls end up happening? When he was put at the wing and fullback position.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It could be
high ball.
High ball's going to be trouble for. That's what I'm saying. He might not be the best fit for
as a winger. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So defensively, maybe his best position for a team right now, because I don't think he's a better fullback currently right now than Chance.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah. I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. Those drop balls will come back. I don't think he's at that level. Like I just personally think he's not as good as what the name says, and it's a different era. 2018 or 2020 is different to 2024, man. Lock and change and but what I think is for me is those eras have been cost. There was the dropout, and he picked the ball up and they gave them a penalty. Little thing. The little knock on against this he dropped the ball. Oh, he contested for the ball. The Sharkies, but this one he contested, but no, they should have helped him. But there should have been some comms like, "Hey, I'm going to contest. Get around me in case Kelly breaks free." Don't completely, but where are the comms on that? There's the other one, the knock on, where I think Kelly kicked it and it was the fifth tackle and it was a dead ball. Should have just dived on it, but he knocked it on and it created another set and they scored or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are the only real, for me personally, the defensive reads are fine, all that. It's those little things like the little errors. Until those are gone for me, those are my pet peeves.
Yeah.
Those need to be sorted out. Yeah.
I'll end it off to also, I'll try and find Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's contract. Do you know how much Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is on currently right now?
I thought it was 700K, wasn't it? Something like that.
Was it 700K? Because that's a decent contract or whatever, if it is that. But if he's on not a heavy contract, and I understand that we just got high hopes for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck to be Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. But like, as you said, because you said the perfect point, like, I'd say work rate wise, he is a little bit touch better than Monty, but error rate, it's still there. Like it's not there, right? It's 100% right. But out of our centers currently right now, like, you're swaying me back to my old point, bro. Like this back and forth, we're talking about this, but honestly, I do believe you take the name out of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, right? And people believing he's learning the center role, okay? Which he even brings up to himself that he's still learning the center role. And that's fair.
Yeah.
Like, maybe his lines are off, maybe something else is off like that. But the main thing we needed from him in those periods to start off with, and is the hardest part of being a center, he picked up really quickly, which was defensive reads and defensive movement.
Reads have been fine for me. Yep, I agree.
And that is the biggest thing for me. So if he's defensively sound and we just get the ball on him and just keep working with him, would it not be a better look to continue to try with Roger than it is to push him to a wing and try to work another look at him again?
I'll tell you this, though. He can get a quick play the ball from out of the back end, which is valuable for us because I've said the back five's almost died. I don't know what's happened, but the energy, like we haven't been making that same inroads from our back end this year. But I think he might be one of the keys to jump starting the meters. Like I thought him and Koss had a good little period there where they were getting sets rolling a bit. And then we just bombed it with errors and all of that. So I don't blame. But I think those are his strengths, and that's probably what we need right now. We need yardage. We need massive amounts of yardage to keep us in the good spots. To go back to that model, like you said, the defensive model where we kick, we defend, and we just get into that grind until they break. I think he's perfect at that. Now,
so I'm seeing a couple of numbers here: 500K, 600K. So 600K center that we've picked up. 30-year-old has the potential. As an older player that has played at the top of the level, has experience in rugby league, is he, you know what I mean? Like, look at Isaac Tungo's on 900K, 800K.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Do you see kind of the points I'm coming from as well? Like,
so you're saying it's bargain? Like it's pretty good.
I'm saying that it's not as bad as what I think. It's just because the name and what we expect out of Roger that we want it. That we want it to be like Roger's going to step everyone from the inside and make breaks at center, or he's going to get caught on the outside. Bang, he's going to burn people on the outside.
I get what you're saying.
And there's another point to this too, bro. And I brought this up, I think a little bit in where did I bring this up? But thinking about the players that we've got in our club. A lot of talk around Montoya being the energy ball and one of players that make a lot of people happy at the club. And that's another thing that doesn't really get talked about as a group and bringing everyone together. If you're to tap Monty on the shoulder and say one more time, we don't need you anymore, go back to cup. And because I honestly don't think Roger's going to jump out of the side. I really don't. He's too big of a name. He's got more potential in his age. Even though he's a little bit older, I still think he has more potential anyway. But Marcelo being tapped on the shoulder again and said, you're not needed anymore, go back to cup. Like, comparatively to someone like Adam Pompey, relaxed, will do anything for the team. Pompey, can you please go back to cup and do your job there? Do you see the difference in that sort of thing too? So Roger's in a position there that doesn't put the squad out of whack as well?
I actually like what you said, like take the name away from him and he's on relatively decent, okay money, but not blowing the bank. It's actually an okay signing. Okay. I'm not saying elite.
Nah.
Okay. And we can live with it. And if he ends up being that he is a depth guy, if he's happy with it, then we just need to lower that expectation.
Yeah.
Because that's maybe what it is, bro. Is that the expectation is so high of this guy based on his name and what he's brought that he might be the ultimate fill-in guy. He might be your fullback cover for CNK, bring your wing cover. If he's happy to accept that role.
Yep.
If we take the name, like you said, take the name away from him, he's actually okay for what we might need.
I think he's been, I honestly think he's been fucking unbelievable. And you still look at the older stats, 175 run meters per game. He is one of the top in that echelon there. His work rate's still there. Everything else is still there. And then my last thing I always go back to, can you name the top 5 centers in the competition, or even make it easier, the top 3 centers in the competition right now?
Manu, who's the other one?
It's tough because I know a lot of people are going to have opinions, but just think of 3 centers that are amazing centers in the comp.
Manu. Who's the other one? Other 2. It's fine
We'll
with
go
Stags. I don't know who else you want to say.
Farnworth, Stags, yeah, even these guys and that. Like Joey's the only one that's been credible.
Yeah,
Critter. Even Critter has been known to be sticky hands for a lot of period too, and it's taken a long time. Like the amount of times I've been on anytime try scorer and Brian Toto at times when he's outside of him and he blew me $500 one time at Magic Round. It's happened before. It's happened before. But this is the whole thing, bro. Like, you know, we've got someone here that defensively sound, gets for a ton of work. If the only thing he's got left in his game to work on is the draw and pass and get outside of back sets, and we all agree that he hasn't got the best ball in attacking ball, is there something there to be like, are we going too hard on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at center?
Bro, Pompey's flawed too, bro. Like
Everyone's
I said,
flawed.
Pompey can't get off that stick and he can't get out to the outside.
Yeah.
And like that's if Reece Walsh plays, he'll get burnt again. Like that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. We got names of Trell, right? Trell, work rate wise, doesn't come anywhere close to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Yeah, true.
Cobbo's the amount of errors that Cobbo has in his game, nowhere close to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Yeah.
Joey Manu has more errors per game than Roger Tuivasa-Sheck right now. And this is a Roger that even dropped back to wing and fullback and got put under the high ball and had his worst moments under the high ball. Again, I go back to it. If he didn't have the name, if we didn't have the expectation of him being the best center in the league, right? Yep. And what do we want out of a 500K center? Defense and work rate out of your back end. He gives you that. He's pretty much Herbie Farnworth, but a cheaper rate. But because he's Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, everyone wants him to be unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
He's no longer RTS, he's STR. We'll change his name now. No pressure on him. There's no pressure on him.
We just got to give it time. And unfortunately, I think it's because we got put in a down moment, which we all agree halves pairing wasn't right. Our injuries weren't right. And now we're starting to see there might be some infighting within the club that's not going really well. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's the least of our problems there at that centre position.
He is, bro. He is. Nah. And like, bro, I'm looking forward to him. We're having massive chat. Like, I think we better jump into this combined. I think we're just gonna go off the top, bro. I don't want to pull up all my I ain't got much time. But like, let's just get through it. And then, but this has been this is probably one of the best.
It's good
episodes we've done. I just feel from like we've just gotten through so much work. Our work rate's been high. Work rate's been real high tonight. So the yardage and post context we've been pulling out, man. We have been doing well. But anyway, let's get into the combined. And guys, hit the like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys all here. Okay, man. Now I'm probably going to be a little bit harsher, just based off of form. But pull me up if I'm in the wrong. But let's get through it.
Let's get through it.
CNK versus Sailor. Versus Wendell Sailor.
Wendell, that changes everything. You know?
Versus Tristan. I'll stick with CNK. I think Tristan's been okay, but CNK, had a little bit of a bad game last week, but previously he's been pretty good. What's your thoughts, bro?
Out of the two, bro, I got Chancey all day. Tristan Sailor's got a ton of potential, but he's still rocks or diamonds at the moment. He had a really good start to the season where I hear a lot of, commentary coming out saying he's could be a top 5 fullback playing backup. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are saying some crazy stuff about Tristan Sailor, but I think we've learned over the last couple of weeks that he's still got a lot to work on in his game. And I think Chancey, I go back to his work rate and all the big areas. He's always going to turn up no matter how many errors maybe he has or anything like that. He's always in the game. I got to go the way of Chancey. I still believe he's a better fullback currently right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. Actually, I watched a little bit of Tristan against the Souths, and just is he kind of on the smaller scale, like kind of what Farlonga was, or is he a little bit bigger than those guys?
I'd say probably a little bit bigger than Farlonga, only because I think he's taller, but he's still one of a smaller type fullbacks. He's slender. Speed is definitely his best asset. He's got a nice kicking game behind him. We saw him last year against us at the Warriors and chop us behind with a nice little nudge in behind. So he's got ability, 100%. But yeah, he's just still rocks and diamonds at the moment. He's still learning.
Okay. Agree there. We'll give that. Dane Mariner versus, I think it's Dallin. Those would be the right wingers.
Yep.
I'll go Dane, man, personally. Or do you think Rod? Yeah, Dallon's kind of had a tough season. Dane's been pretty good.
It's tough because like I what a lot of what Dallin does is like
He's
Dean's got a
stronger
lot
at
of
carries, eh?
potential.
Yeah, Dane's got
Yeah,
potential.
Dean's got a lot of potential, bro. Mariner's got a ton of potential. I love Mariner, and I do believe speed is something you can't buy. And if I was to pick a Warriors side at the moment, like unfortunately, the finishing ability of Dell's on a different level. Mariner has that too. It's really tough, bro. I would sway the way of Dallin currently right now, only on experience, but Mariner's potential is well higher. Like his speed is unreal.
What if Dean can grow into like his dad, like a front rower, like a big Luppy? You know how big Luppy was a prop?
Yeah. It'd be the quickest fronty I've ever seen, bro.
He's got the genetics to jump into front row, be a pain ass. Shout out Luppy, bro. Love you, brother. Have you seen Luppy sing, bro? You know his dad, Luppy?
Nah.
He was in
not from memory. Not from memory.
Jam. He's famous in New Zealand, like, you know, amazing singer, bro. I remember he did one of the maybe a Kiwis test or something. He did the anthem. Maybe it was beautiful. He's got a mean voice. But yeah, shout out to Luppy, bro. Luppy actually did our Matter of Faith. I'm not sure, it might be before your time, but we had this Matter of Faith kind of logo thing going, and he was the lead singer of it, and they had a gospel choir.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
what you're telling me is Dean Mariner might have been born in New Zealand and maybe come home, Dean Mariner.
I'm telling you, June 30. June 30, people.
June 30, bro.
Bring him home.
Could you imagine his speed, bro? Like his speed on the edge is what we kind of need. Like it'd be incredible if we could get, but the Broncos aren't letting that man go. They're not letting that man go.
Yeah, nah, absolutely. Okay, let's go into the centers now. Right center, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck versus Tony.
I would take Katoni. Yeah. And again, this is like a lot of people are going to say what I said all before and all that. I'm just saying that, you know, right now, 500K center of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Katoni Staggs is been in the game for longer. He's a center, and he does exactly the same thing as Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Change the mindset.
Yeah, but I'd say the difference between the two, I think Katoni, sometimes he can be off in defensive reads, but I'd say that defensively, I say Katoni is one of the better centers in the league. So I'll probably sway away Katoni.
Cool. Pompey versus Cobbo.
I'll
go Cobbo there.
I'll go Cobbo. Yeah.
No, we love Pomps, but yeah, Cobbo's origin player. You know, he's the elite tech. Okay, Marcelo Montoya versus Arthurs.
I love Jesse Arthurs.
Yeah, I love Jesse.
I've always rated Jesse. So I will take Jesse because I think Jesse, he offers so much to a football side. And if we were able to keep him when he did his loan deal with us, like I wish we would have kept him because he has so much potential. And he's even playing out of position. I think he's a better center than a winger. But when he plays in wing, he's incredible there too. So Jesse Arthurs, bro.
Bro, I even said if we'd kept Arthurs for last season, we might have gone one step further. I loved him, man. I thought he might have been a difference maker for us in terms of that center role. He could have replaced Pompey or vice versa. You know, some things could have happened. Yeah, no, I love Jesse, bro. I'm gonna go Jesse there.
100%.
Montoya's been great though, but okay, the best halves. CHT, Tamaida, Ezra Mam, Jock Madden. Me, I'll go TMM and Ezra Mam.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing on Chanel, but like Ezra is a generational type talent. We'll touch on Ezra Mam's deficiencies later on because I believe it's something we can definitely attack. And I believe Chanel has him covered in one complete area by far, like by so far. But Ezra Mam, something out of nothing, speed. He is a freak of nature in attack.
Yep. Okay, this one. Do you think the Origin boys will back up just before we get into this part?
I do. I don't think Mitch will make it into the squad unless there's something news come out that maybe Liam Martin's pulled out. I don't think he will. I think that he'll stay 18th man. And then on Kurt Capewell, I believe that he'll be on limited minutes unless there's an injury.
Sorry for the Broncos boys. Do you think they'll back up?
The Broncos boys.
Walsh, Haas, Kerrigan.
I strongly think that it will be a step too far for them because coming off of all those boys are big minute Origin players, and to get on a plane after getting banged up, in Origin to come to New Zealand and have one training session, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think
Losing and
so.
then coming back in mental.
You had to put it in there. You mean Payne Haas, right?
Yeah.
Coming back.
Okay, so we go Mr. June 30, Jacko Ford, Corey Jensen, and Xavier Willison. I'll probably go Mr. June 30 and Xavier Willison.
100%, yeah. 100%, bro. And as said, as I keep saying, because I got to continue to relate it to you guys, my problem's not with Adden as a football player. My problem's with Adden as an attitude and something going on with that club because he's on his way out. That is it.
Yep.
As a football player, unfucking believable football player.
June 30 and Willison. I love Willison, bro. I think he's Egan versus Billy Walters. This is a good matchup, bro. This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
I gotta say Billy. Man, well, what do you think? Billy's been okay, or has he been a bit quiet this year? Or?
He's been improved. He's improved a lot from what I first saw of Billy Walters and that. And like, he's always in the game. He always try things and stuff, but I just don't think he's the type of player to, and I don't know if Egan's really, like, Egan does a little bit for us there too, but to pull him out of the fire a little bit, and Egan showed he couldn't really do that on the weekend either. But ruck deception, I got Egan. Defense, I've got Egan. The only thing I really have Billy Walters up on is more so probably kicking game out of dummy half. And he's just got energy all the time. So I don't think he'll allow the game to get away from him. Yeah. Where I feel like sometimes Wado can get himself in the whole thing of like getting through defensive work and not just allowing his attacking game flow. So, but I'll go Wade Egan. I think Wade Egan's a better hooker out of the two.
Okay. Yep. We'll stick with that. Okay. Left edge Barnett versus Piakuda, I think.
Yeah.
Piakuta's pretty solid. Yep. I think Piakuta's pretty solid. Would you guys be Piakuda in this based on the systems, or just being consistent, or Barney? Barney's still total player for me. Yeah, well, I'll probably go Barney, but then again, if Piakuta's really good at back, I think Barney's in that position where he's playing back row, but he's doing well in the front row, but he's kind of doing whatever he needs to be done. Whereas if Piakuta's a specialist back rower, then he might win that spot for me. But what do you think?
That's where my points are, bro. Is as a back rower solely, I think Piakuta's like freaking potential was so great. Like, I've been watching him since North Devils over here. My missus cousin played with him and said he has a ton of potential. Like, he's fucking unbelievable. You get to see it. His line running's like incredible. He's got a nice tip on game on him. Defensively, one-on-one, if he's in front of someone, he can make the tackle, make it work. Sometimes his defensive reads can be a little bit off, and I feel like he needs to learn that area. And when you have Ezra Mam inside of you, when you got to worry about so many different things, it doesn't help you. But Mitch Barnett, I can't have Mitch Barnett out of the side. So I'll go Mitch Barnett. But again, Brendan Piakura, he's a player for the future, bro, and I wouldn't be surprised he becomes, if not one of the best edge back roles in the game.
Yep, Mitchie beat. Okay, Tohu Harris versus Kobe Hetherington. Who wins this one? I don't know much about Kobe, but I think Tohu's for me is in a bit of a slump. But I'll go Kobe. I don't know.
Oh, so tough, man, because he's definitely out of form. Tohu. Yeah. I'd say if Tohu's healthy and ready to go, he's a lot better than Kobe. But Kobe defensively is a fucking unreal player.
Defense might win it out. I don't know.
I might go Kobe. We did miss Niakore and Joseski though.
Oh, shit,
I think that was an easy one. That was an easy one, bro.
Sorry,
we could jump over that.
Okay, sorry, my
bad. Shout out to homie.
Shout out, sorry, brother, if you're watching. We should go Hetherington. I just think defense is so important right now, and I think Tohu's like diminishing a bit. Just based on
tough.
I just think this would be another big defensive game. I'm picking Hetherington based on just keeping it solid, but Hetherington isn't the greatest attacking distributor, you'd say, like kind of not ball player and that type of thing. Just a hit man.
He's a hit man. very
Yeah,
much a
yeah,
big
yeah.
man. I think Tohu offers so much more, but it's just so tough when he's just completely out of form at the moment and broken and gone. But if you're going to go type of player, I'd go Tohu as just like the complete player. But
Yeah. Okay, let's do bench. So best four: Freddie Lussick, Dylan Walker, Jazz Tavanga, Kurt Capewell, Tyson Smoothie, Fletcher Baker, Josiah Karapani, and Martin Taupau or Capel.
mm,
Um, where you going for this, brother? I'm kind of still Walks for me, still one that stands out.
I'll be
Um,
completely honest with you, bro. Our bench from top to bottom.
okay.
Marty hasn't shown anything for me at the Broncos other than that little stint early on in the season before he ended up doing was that raised knee. Remember he knocked someone out and he's just been completely out of sight since then. Fletcher Baker, I don't rate. I've questioned that move for the Broncos. Josiah Karapani's got a ton of talent, but he's a center. For him to be carried on the bench there, I would say maybe there could be a late change for someone there. And Tyson Smoothie, I just don't see it out of him. So I'll go Freddie, Dylan Walker, Jazzy Davanga, and Kurt Capewell, in my opinion.
Okay, man, that's cool. Fletcher Baker dropped off since the Roosters kind of.
See, I've never even rated him at the Roosters, bro.
You didn't rate him either at the okay.
I think he's a big body. He's got a, like, you know, I can understand why NRL clubs are looking at him and that he's got like, again, I'm going to say potential, but he's got like that he's a big body. If he works on certain things, he could be good, but I don't think he's everywhere close to being like a proper first grader.
Okay, cool. I'll stick with that too, man. Again, as always, appreciate the insights. That kind of wraps up with our score prediction. Our team combined 17. Safe to say, I think they won pretty much the back five, majority of it, barring C and K. Actually, kind of won a few spots in the forwards too. Like, I kind of feel like if we actually didn't get Haas and all that back, this is kind of a good game for us. You know what I mean? So.
You would say that, but also coming off that Titans game where if we didn't combine that in that.
I'm gonna get to my score prediction and I'm gonna anyway, let's get into score. Look, just quick question here. I did start. Let's just answer this one quickly. Are we the only team that does attempt to I think it might be doesn't.
Probably means doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, attempt to go for 40-20s. I agree. Sean had a few last year. I'm not sure if we've had one this year. 40-20.
I don't think from Chanel from memory.
Chanel had maybe one.
I'll have to look that up, but yeah, as in game plan wise, I don't think we ever get into a position where we can unless we kick an early third tackle set. If you think of our back five, usually when we're playing good football, guys, the work rate we get, we always seem to get into the opposite 40 of the field. And it's the reason why I should have touched on this with SJ and that. But when a lot of people say that SJ throws up the same kick again and again and again, we also got a picture of where SJ is kicking the football from. And usually if you watch multiple best teams at a competition, when you're in that 40 range, the preferred kick, no matter what, is a bomb to the corner and run into your corner sets. And I think that's just a system thing. Unfortunately, 40-20s, you probably find yourself more so on the back foot a lot. And I feel like when we get a roll on, there's not a lot of games in the competition that I haven't seen us be limited out of our back end. And that's never been a problem with us. So I think that's the reason why 40-20s haven't come into our game. Where if you look at teams like the Dolphins and that don't usually have a really good run out from their back end and getting good field position through their meters, they got players that take the sting out of it with their kicking game. You know what I mean? So there's a difference in game plans. Yep.
No, good question though. Appreciate that. Man, let's get into score prediction, brother. Sorry, did you have some? Sorry, it's a long note. Just quickly on the stats. I haven't got too much time, but was there some stats that really stood out? And then we'll get into the score prediction and wrap up.
Yeah, so I'll tie it into my score prediction, right? So, I'll first of all touch on, it's probably the stat I've been dreading to really bring up with you guys for all this show, but it is our 3-game average currently right now. And because of that 2 performances that we've had, and mainly that last performance that we've had, it's completely blown our 3-game average way out of water. So attacking wise, we are still holding up fairly well with 24 points per game within that 3-game period, other than obviously only scoring 6 points over the weekend. we've actually still been a better attacking team within that 3-game period than what we are on average. So our average is 20.8. So attack is there. So attack's still there, even though on the weekend it didn't seem to be there. And I think there's a little bit more to that. But our attack is still there, right? Defensively is where we completely fall off. And I feel like I'm just saying the same things again and again and again. But in that 3-game period, and a lot of it has come down to that last one, but 38.6 points per game we are conceding in that 3-game period. And if we take a look of, the Storm game, what was that? 38 points they put on us. And then you back that up with the 66 drumming. Like defensively is where we are completely falling off. And it's just, the stats have been saying it all season. There's been the start of the season where we've been incredible defensively. It has completely fallen out of the way ever since a lot of things that I pointed out earlier on this, in the show here. The stats show where our defense and our leaking is coming from. But what I will also say too, coming into this game, we need to really cut down on a lot of our edges there too, because a lot of our tries do seem to be coming from our edges. But the way I'm saying this is more so our middles aren't tying in with our edges. So this stat could also be skewed as well from what I've seen over the weekend. Our poor area seems to be our middles not covering for our edges, making decisions on our outside and creating holes for the middle and players scoring either way. So either a player on the edge will cover inside, then bounce out. And that's the way our system works. When you got someone not covering the inside too well, I think that our boys look inside first and then play out. It's why we get beaten on the outside a lot of times. So that's just my thoughts anyway. I could be wrong. But going on to the Broncos, they are the 3rd worst team currently right now at conceding run meters. So they concede about 1,500 run meters in a game. So the 3rd worst, guys. That's really good for our end because our game is predominantly run meters, getting a good field position, and just keep attacking and holding pressure. We average 1,500 run meters per game. We are one of the best, the 2nd best team in the competition right now in run meters. So that's a great stat there for us. We still hold that up, even though on the weekend, I think we hit 1,400. It's still around about where our average seems to be anyway. Now, the area I want to see us attack, and it's the one thing or the reason why I don't think Ezra Mam's in the Origin squad just yet, and it's the one area that Ezra Mam needs to fix up in his game immensely. He is statistically the worst number 6 defensively in the competition right now. His tackle efficiency, 71% in the competition. The only worst tackle efficiency is Anthony Milford for those couple of game stints, and he's not an active 6 in the competition right now. That is the area we need to attack. You see all the best game plans, coming against the Broncos. You see the Melbourne Storm attacking with Eli Katoa. Guess who we've got on that side there? Murata Niokore. Yeah. We need to attack through Murata Niokore and set up that right edge, especially with Tamade Martin wheeling and dealing. I think that's the best way we can go about it. And a lot of what Brendan Piacora's indecision comes from is covering inside with Ezra Mam. If we attack that very early on, we can see space on the outside. If we run our sets properly, that's the way we should go. Other stats to tie into that, Ezra Mam has conceded for the Broncos 13 tries in himself. So Fox League have a stat to where they say which player was the main problem of why that try was conceded. He was the worst for the Broncos at conceding tries for them. 13 tries this season out of 53. That's 25% of the Broncos tries this season came through Ezra Mam. So that's the most in the club. We need to be attacking this area as much as we can. This is the one area in our game plan. It suits our game plan. Attack Ezra Mam as much as you can. Other than that, also, the Broncos concede the most line. He also concedes the most line breaks for the Broncos as well. As we touched on before, 24% of the Broncos line breaks come from Ezra Mam as well. And then 49% of tries the Broncos concede on that same edge. So for me, as I said, Tamade Martin, Niokore, RTS, and Dallin. Niokore would be nice, eh? It would be nice. If you're going anytime try scorer, if everything's supposed to go out the way it's supposed to go out, those are the boys you should be targeting. So look at those sort of guys if you are putting your bet slips out there, gamble responsibly. But those are my thoughts overall, and I may as well tie it in because we're pretty much going to go to our score prediction. After the weekend, I'm really reserved to think that we can do that to a higher click, but I'm also a little bit hopeful of Tamade Martin wheeling, dealing, the boys getting a good field position, and hopefully it unlocks something. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the well of, we're at the moment we are scoring around that 24 points per game mark. So I'm going to say we hit that mark. We're going to go 24 points per game. because the Broncos are conceding a lot of points currently right now. But the Broncos, they are a very heavy attacking side, and they attack the best from their back end too, which is the worst part of the Warriors defense too. So we're going to go with probably that 24-22 mark. I think it's going to be a close game. We're going to stress each other out. We're going to think it's going to all fall apart again, but the boys will pull it out of the fire and hopefully kickstart our season all over again. This is all hopeful because I don't think a lot of people are confident, but that's why I'm going to go with it. What are your thoughts, Levon? What do you reckon?
I'm going to go. I think I've picked Warriors all season and lost. So I'm actually going to do mind tricks on myself. I'm actually going Broncos here. Again, based on what we saw last week, whether or not we can kind of fix that up, I'm a little bit concerned. I think if they get those Origin guys over there with Walsh, I think it's just that speed is going to kill us at some point. If they don't go, I'm more excited. I'm more happy. My big thing is that we just collapse at certain moments of the game at home, and it's just whenever I expect something from the team at the moment, it's still, it's not delivering. And so I'm going to play on this on the other side, guys, for the first time. And I know this is wrong, but I'm just going to go Broncos 1-12, and I'm trying to really just Stockholm syndrome myself to get rewarded with it. But yeah, I for that punishment that we took against the Titans, I'm feeling more on the side that we might not. But for the first thing, the main thing I'm looking for when I'm watching this game is just watching that defensive integrity, like we talked about, the 1%ers guys tying in. You could tell it straight away. The Titans guys weren't tying in. Like if you look off the ball, like you say, your man Brody was looking at, and he just probably saw it. Nah, they're not in for it. And I knew as well. I was just thinking, nah, man, it's not on today. You know. And so from where you're seeing those keys early on, if I can see that those keys are locked in, I think we're in for a big chance. But the only thing I'll say is that we probably will win is that Broncos are in a bit of a slump too. I watched them against South, and they're just like flat as hell, just as like what we were. Like they drop balls. Ricky's out, which is great. Like there's other things that are in our benefit, but I just do not want to go in with expectations at the moment. And I'm just gonna try to play my mind trick. I'll give the Broncos 1-12, and if I'm wrong, I'll be happy, man. I'll be so happy.
I think like the biggest problem with the Broncos coming to this weekend, just watching the Broncos closely, my dad's favorite team and all that sort of stuff. And I keep saying to my dad, I think they fell in love with attacking shape, and they fell in love with being the team that know they can pull it out of something, out of nothing, and they know they can attack from the back end with their speed. But when shit goes wrong, when you got to knuckle down and find a way, the reason why the Melbourne Storm, the Penrith Panthers win games is because they can chuck back into a system where they can wrestle back momentum by rolling through sets, kick into corners, and defending, and then wrestle back before you start opening up the game. It's the quote that gets thrown around all the time. You got to earn the right to play football. And unfortunately, the Broncos have put themselves in a position where they just don't. Like in the Sharkies game, they had a point there where they had so much ball to chase the game again, and all they wanted to do was shift out the back from their back end, drop the ball, and they put themselves under a ton of pressure again. So if they've still got that in that game, I do believe that we'll have a lot of opportunities on their line. But again, we go back to, we also have had some problems with attacking teams on their line as well. So this is where the game could be won or lost, is a lot of errors from the Broncos back end from continuing to try that style. And also for us is just trying to get over that hump of just holding into a team and understand the game plan works. So we've seen it with our juniors. We've seen it with, when we've had all our big boys out, when they play the game plan properly, it works, but play it with effort and intensity. Everyone's got to buy in. That's the way it works.
And Mr. June 30, if you're listening, you got 5 more days. What's the date today, man?
Oh, mate, it's the 25th right now. 25th. We got 5 more days.
You got 6 more days or whatever. 5 more days.
Prove yourself.
Something. Prove yourself, bro. Otherwise, we're going to hold you till July 1st, and you're never going to get there.
You're not going to move anywhere, brother. You ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, nah, bro. Hey, we're going to wrap it up there. Hey, guys, we'll do some Origin tomorrow night. Come again. 10 p.m. tomorrow night. We're doing an Origin watch along. But man, tonight was a massive night, bro. Really appreciate that.
Bro.
Thought we hit all the points, covered all the things. I just want to quickly shout out Stells, big fan of the show. He says, you guys should set up a Patreon. I would definitely support Phil's criminally in this call. Hey, we will get all those things sorted to show. We're going to actually sort out memberships, all of that. We appreciate all the love. Stells and everyone else will get all that sorted. But man, great chat tonight. Yeah, and like really enjoyed it, bro. But you guys, we'll see it on us tomorrow night. I'm away this weekend, guys, for Matariki. I'm going up north. We're going up to the Hokianga for those. So if you're up in the Hokianga, I'm actually catching up with Nick from Warriors Fan TV.
Ooh.
Yeah, Nick's going to be up there, so I'll go say hi to Nick. And if you guys don't know, Nick, who runs Warriors Fan TV, is leaving in July, I believe. I think he said he's going over to Europe. Shit. His wife's European, but I'm going to miss that side of Warriors Fan TV. I know Nick's still going to be involved, but in terms of the interviews at the game and stuff, you know, Nick's been so good at that, bro, and getting the fan voice. And Kitty Topper, who might be on here, is another one. So yeah, man. You know, shout out to Nick. Yeah, and if you get a chance, guys, to see Nick before you guys go, make sure you send the love his way. But yeah, tomorrow night, and then Ash will be holding down the watch along, and then we'll just do no full credit this Saturday. I know you got a birthday party, so we'll leave it there, man. And sorry, and Down Unders, coming for Down Unders with Brody and the bro. So 7:30, and then pop back in for about 10 p.m. We'll hit the Origin. Yeah.
Keen for that, brother. Keen for that, brother. Keen for that. Great chat tonight, bro. Great chat.
Great chat, Enjoy, people. Remember, June 30, to smash it. Hashtag June 30. Hashtag hold him prisoner. Hashtag get the hell out of here.
June
30. Okay, please stay safe, everyone.
Up the Maroons.
Up